All three phases, playing with the damn edge. That's good stuff right there, man. Give yourself a round of applause. You talked at halftime, O-line and D-line taking over the game. That's what you did. Great job. Great job.
Hey, we stay here, right? Same thing. This film, it's never as good, never as bad as you think. Let's get in. Let's figure out what we need to fix. Let's move on. All right? Yes, sir. Here we go. Win on 3, 1, 2, 3. Win.
Finding a way every week. How about the Buffalo Bills?
No overthinking, right? Go play some ball. Go play some football.
It's an exciting time to be a Buffalo Bill and a fan of the Buffalo Bills.
Welcome to week 4 of the Sean McDermott Show, presented by Kaleida Health. Coach, as always, thanks for making time for us here. Huge win over Washington last week, 37-3. Forced 5 turnovers, this close to a shutout. What was the most impressive thing you took from your defense's performance on Sunday?
Well, I think just the takeaways and how hard and how fast they played. The rush and the coverage were working together, and that was fun to watch.
Terrell Bernard had a lot of crooked numbers in a lot of defensive categories on Sunday. He's off to an awfully hot start here. What do you think he has done to trigger such a fast start, especially after missing the preseason?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you'd ask, because we knew he was a good football player, but being off to the start that he's off to is a little bit of a, not surprise, but welcome addition, I guess, right? But he prepares extremely hard. He's a student of the game. He's out there in the respect of his teammates, and he's slowly becoming a leader of our football team.
You mentioned the 5 takeaways. A lot of guys got their hands in on the act. Micah got his first takeaway in almost 2 seasons after missing most of last year, which was great to see. Tre'Davious gets the takeaway in the red zone. Epinesa gets in on the act. That's a heck of a way to get your first takeaway of your career. You take it back for a touchdown. It was great.
Right.
As a defensive play caller, though, is there a way to cleverly put your players in position to make plays like that, or is that more individualistic?
Well, let's start there. I think they're the ones that have to make the plays. I hope, and it's our job to put them in positions. As a play caller, you do the best you can. That's really what you're asked to do, what you're tasked to do, is to put them in positions and avoid not having them in position. So somewhere in between there, I think, is where we end up most of the time.
Okay, so let's take that a step further with the pass pressure your team was able to generate. We've seen some simulated pressures here and there, and guys dropping out, guys coming that maybe they don't expect. You took advantage of a young quarterback last week who looked pretty skittish by the second half of that football game. What do you think has been the key to the execution being up to the standard to create that pressure?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at last season, we had teams in third and long, for example, where we were using some pressures of different sorts, but our execution and the detail that led to the execution wasn't up to par. So this year, credit the players. They've done a phenomenal job. The coaches with adding the detail this season to give them the exposure to those details, and then the execution is what's followed.
Stephon Diggs, a homecoming of sorts for him, and he comes up with another big game for you on the offensive side of the football, and started the game with that huge catch on third down off that scramble drill with Josh, which I know you want to get off to a good start on the opening drive there. How rewarding was it for you? I'm sure it's not the first time, but how rewarding was it for you to see a guy playing pretty close to his hometown put in a performance like that?
Yeah, that was big. You know, Steph's our number 1 receiver, heck of a competitor, and to be around home and have that type of performance, I think, is great for him, certainly great for our team. And that's not always the case. Sometimes people go back home or play close to home, and they're not on their A game for some reason. But in this case, the pro that he is, he was on his A game for sure.
Josh had a steady performance, 1 throwing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. And I know that this has come up a lot through the first 3 weeks, just the maturity that you're looking to get from him now in year 6. And I think when fans hear discipline, I think they mistake it for restricting Josh. And I thought you made a very good point in the post-game comments you made after that game in Washington when you said, we want him to still be Josh, but there are responsibilities to playing the quarterback position. That's a very different thing than restricting a player, is it not?
Right, we don't want to change who he is. He's a heck of a football player, a heck of a quarterback, and he can do things that no other quarterback in the league can do. We want him to do those things, being himself, yet at the same time evolve part of his game, because it is a responsibility to play the position a certain way in order to help your team win, but also in order to stay healthy so we can sustain the wins.
Offensive line, second straight week, no sacks. Josh is kept relatively clean. Your team rushes for 168 total yards. James Cook with another nice performance on limited carries. I mean, it's not like he's carrying it 30 times a game. 15 carries, he's almost up to 100 yards. How much of the offensive line performance do you put on scheme, with your guys on the offensive side of the ball and guys just flat out winning their matchups? Again, it's kind of like that execution scheme question.
Right. Yeah, blend. It's a blend, and you got to put them in position. I think our coaches are doing a good job of that based on what our players do best and working to their strengths. And I think through now 3 games, we should have a pretty good feel as to what we do best and what our players are most comfortable with. And then it's up to the players to execute, and they did a phenomenal job.
Thanks very much for that insight, Coach. We'll catch up with you later in the show to get your final thoughts on facing the Dolphins here at home.
The Game Plan is presented by Energy Mark. Trust Energy Mark for renewable energy supply.
When we come back, Eric Wood and I break down the tape from the defense's dominant performance in D.C. Then we'll have Gabe Davis mic'd up from last Sunday.
Chopping Wood is presented by St. Bonaventure University, an official education partner of the Buffalo Bills.
Welcome back to the Sean McDermott Show. It's time to look back at the tape with our good friend Eric Wood. Eric, the Bills absolutely dominated the Commanders on the defensive side of the ball. What stood out most to you?
Well, the defense has been great through 3 weeks, but they took it to a whole nother level in Washington on Sunday. Terrell Bernard started off a couple huge plays early in this game, including an interception on the first drive of the game. The pass rush throughout the entire game was incredible. 9 sacks on the day. The Bills forced 5 turnovers, including 4 interceptions. And we'll take a look at a lot of these highlights here.
Yeah, let's start with Bernard. He had one of those interceptions, the first of the day on this 3rd down. What did you see here on this play?
Well, here the pass rush is going to get to Hal, so it forces him to make a decision early in this game, and Bernard does a great job of just getting depth on this play, and he's reading the eyes of Hal here. As soon as he sees him where he's got to make a decision because of the pass rush, he can stick right in that passing lane, elevates for the catch, and shows off some of that elite athleticism that he has at linebacker.
Yeah, great play there, and he was far from done because he showed up big on the very next possession. He came up with a big sack. This also coming on 3rd down. What did you see on this pass rush?
The Bills didn't run a lot of 6-man blitzes in this game, but when they did, they were effective. And here, the Bills bring both Milano and Bernard. So interiorly, the defensive tackles, Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, they're going to eat up all 3 interior blockers. Matt Milano is going to take the running back, and Bernard's going to come free. It takes a lot of speed to be able to run the hoop like this. He's lined up over the right side of the Washington offensive line. He loops all the way around the running back. This is effective because oftentimes, if it's just the offensive lineman, you can pass off these stunts. The problem is you would have to pass this off through the running back to get to Bernard. It's a great design blitz by Sean McDermott and great execution by the defense.
And then just before the half, Micah Hyde got in on the act with his first interception in 2 seasons. Pressure was the catalyst here, right, Eric?
It was. And so here, I mentioned a second ago, not a lot of 6-man blitzes or even 5-man pressures in this game. A lot of times they're bringing linebackers like they are here, but they're just bringing Milano and 3 of the D linemen. So still just a 4-man rush. A.J. Epinesa is going to come free. Micah Hyde knows exactly where Hal wants to go with the football, and that's Gibson in the flat. He jumps it perfectly.
And we talked about the pass rush already, but Leonard Floyd had back-to-back sacks to shut down the Commanders' next drive. This one showed shades of Von Miller.
Yeah, he almost got a little bit of a running start up the field, so the tackle, Wiley, doesn't have much of a chance at all getting him here. He jumps the snap perfectly, and he just uses his elite speed, nice arm swipe at the top of the pass rush to get an easy sack there, and Hal has no chance on this one.
Yeah, and he now leads the team with 3.5 sacks on the season. And then A.J. Epinesa got in on the action, first interception of his career, and he takes it back for a pick 6.
So here, another 4-man just rush. This isn't a pressure, it's not a blitz, A.J. Epinesa drops on the play as Howell scrambles. He pursues up in the pocket. Josh Allen said after the game that they see this often in practice from A.J. Epinesa, that he's kind of got an eye for the ball, that he's made interceptions like this. We just haven't seen it in a game yet. Hopefully we see it more often, but he makes an athletic play, tipped the ball to himself, and then shows off a little bit of speed getting his way to his first career touchdown as well.
Great stuff as always, Eric. Thanks very much for the time. We'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds good, Chris. Looking forward to it.
When we return, Gabe Davis is mic'd up for the win over the Commanders. Then later on, we'll take a deep dive into some next-gen stats in Sportsology.
Mic'd Up is presented by Geico.
I saw that.
Mic'd up.
Oh, yeah.
We had fun all week.
Yes, sir.
That was the grind. Let's go put that work in, man.
I'm mic'd up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. What's up, Terry? How you doing?
Take advantage of the opportunity. Rain.
Oh, snot! I got snot!
Now looking down the left sideline to Davis, caught for a
Ah! Let's go, baby. Dog. Let's go. Ah. Hey, so glad you saw that. I knew that was gonna be open. Hey, I saw you.
I was like, did you just open?
Yeah.
Hey, he thought it was to him.
Yeah, he thought it was him. Yeah.
Like this. It was right there.
It's bad how I notice shit like that. And it's funny because as I'm running and I see the ball thrown like one of y'all, because y'all are in the same area, I'm looking in that direction.
And you just see it.
As I'm running that with you, I'm like, what the f?
He got on his face.
And then Steph caught it, and I was like, oh. And I looked at you, I was like, that is a booger.
I'm like, oh, hey, I got a booger on it. I knew I felt something. Thought it was my hair. Beard.
Is it tough?
I think I'm out. Hey, I couldn't get my feet in. It was tight.
Can't get that back, but you can go get some more.
Yep. They held Kingsley.
He's wrecking right now.
screen to Gibson, spins away from two tacklers, but is finally corral, balls out, and the rolling to his left, gonna step up in the pocket, and it's picked off by A.J. Epinesa going the other way.
What the Hey, man. AJ. Man, what the That's crazy.
We're gonna block, y'all gonna catch. Y'all gonna hoop, we gonna look great doing it.
Bro,
That's
TD
tough.
went absolutely nuts.
Yeah, he did.
I love that.
Ice. Man, that ain't funny. It's Ghost's birthday today. Score for my dog, man.
How old is he?
3. How this been?
It's been straight,
But
man.
I-
Smooth over here.
Yeah, okay, good. Good to see you.
Yeah, same, bro. Same, bro.
Hey, good to see you, baby. Thank you, I appreciate it. My bad. Still to come on the Sean McDermott Show, we break down the next-gen stats in Sportsology, and later on, Coach previews the divisional showdown against the Dolphins.
Sportsology is presented by ECMC. ECMC, bringing hope and healing to Western New York.
Through 3 games, the defense is off to a hot start. The guys were downright dominant against the Commanders. So with that, we've got some key stats to show you how they got it done. The defense made life miserable for Sam Howell, pressuring the first-year starter on 69% of his dropbacks, the second highest amount ever in the Next Gen Stats era. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver led the way with 7 total pressures, while 7 other Bills defenders generated at least 4 pressures on the quarterback. It wasn't just the D-line getting home either. Linebacker Terrell Bernard racked up 2 sacks on just 3 rushes while putting together a performance for the record books. Putting constant pressure on Howell up front paid off in the secondary too, as 3 of Howell's 4 picks came when he was under duress. We'll see what this group is cooking up for the rest of the season. So far, this defense is giving opponents problems.
When we come back, Steve Tasker and Maddy Glab break down the Sunday afternoon showdown with the Dolphins, plus Coach talks about what it will take to get the win over Miami.
Game Preview is presented by Independent Health. You deserve the red shirt treatment.
Welcome into this week's game preview. Maddy Glab alongside Steve Tasker. And the Bills have a big game against the Dolphins this week, so we've got a couple storylines worth keeping your eye on for Sunday. Of course, this Dolphins team on offense is one of the fastest in the NFL. They're coming off of a game where they scored 70 points. They rank number 1 in the NFL in several statistical categories on offense. So, with the Bills defense, they're not nothing to laugh at either. They're one of the best in the NFL too right now. They're only allowing 11.7 points per game. So when you're going up against the offense that the Dolphins have, what does the game plan need to be for the defense?
Well, certainly you don't want to give up any explosive plays. You've got to keep a lid on the speed that the Dolphins offer. You know that you've got to back off and make sure you stay on top of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle as well as Achane. So they've got a lot of team speed, a lot of guys that can really run. So you've got to keep that lid on this team and force them to go 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives in order to score. And once you do, you also want to be really good situationally. If they're in a third down or in the red zone, you've got to be really effective on those downs. Those are the downs that can make a difference in the game. So situationally, you've got to be really aware of what down and distance is and where they are on the field. When they get down into the red zone, if when they do, you've got to make sure that you're effective on those downs. Hold them to 3 points or a turnover.
And quickly flipping it to the offensive side of things for the Bills, they're the second best in the NFL right now, averaging 30 points per game. They could have some opportunities against the Dolphins defense. Yes, it's led by a Vic Fangio defense, but they're in the middle of the pack right now. So how can the offense take advantage of some of those opportunities?
Whenever you meet one of these high-flying offenses, you've got to make sure your offense can possess the ball a lot. Don't give them 20 possessions. Give them 8. And then be effective on your possessions. You got to come away with points on every drive. Try not to punt the football. Get first downs. Stay on the football field. Be effective in the red zone. And you can defend Tua and all that speed with your offense as well as your defense.
It might come down to just time of possession, staying on the field on offense. That's this week's game preview. We'll see if the Bills have what it takes to take down the Dolphins.
All right, Coach, back at home against the Dolphins. They're coming off a historic 70-20 win over the Broncos. First team since 1966 to score 70 points. How do you frame the message this week for your team? Because at the end of the day, this is an important division matchup, first of all.
Well, I think that's really where you got to start. It's week 4 of our season, our regular season, and we take them one at a time. And it is a divisional game. It's at home, so those are all 2 important things for us as it relates to where we're trying to go in terms of making the playoffs and winning our division. So outside of that, our preparation, our process needs to stay consistent week to week, and that's what we're looking forward to.
I don't have to tell you all the fat numbers that this team has put up offensively in the Dolphins, with Tua leading the league in passer rating, 340 yards a week, and then Tyreek doing what he does on the outside there. They have team speed in spades. We know that. To what degree, though, does that team speed alter the plan, so to speak? And I'm speaking generally here, but to what degree does speed in numbers that they offer on the field kind of change your approach?
Well, I think you've seen that with the previous 3 opponents that they've played. They've handled them all rather easily and rather well, outside of probably New England. It's really what we can do to contain it, because they're explosive from every different skill position, from the running backs to the wide receivers in particular. And so they're a handful to handle. but at the same time, we have to play fundamentally sound football to even give ourselves a chance to play our best ball.
Thanks very much for the time, Coach. Good luck getting that division win this week. All right, and to everyone at home, thanks for watching the Sean McDermott Show, presented by Kaleida Health. Go Bills.
Final Thoughts is presented by Toyota. Toyota is the exclusive and official vehicle of the Buffalo Bills. Toyota, let's go places. The Sean McDermott Show is presented by Kaleida Health, the official healthcare provider of the Buffalo Bills. By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 716-684-COMP today. By Toyota. Toyota is the exclusive and official vehicle of the Buffalo Bills. Toyota, let's go places. And by Independent Health. You deserve the red shirt treatment.